Welcome everybody to what I'm sure is going to be a wonderful class. Peter has been with us several times in the past. He is, of course, on the faculty at the Guildhall School in London and has maintained an active concert career, yea, these many days and years and months, that brings him never often enough to the United States. But we're lucky to have him here. Now I'm standing here and I suddenly don't remember who is playing what first.
It's Beethoven Pastoral.
So we will start with Mark Lévesque playing the first movement of the Beethoven Pastoral Sonata. Really. Thank you.
Do you mind if I just write things faintly? Yeah, okay. You play very well, and it's very polished. I have to tell you, I actually disagree with, I think, the basic conception. I think it's a movement of utter loveliness and great gentleness and warmth, yeah? And it sounds to me as though you want it to be more exciting than it is, and more dramatic than it is. And I do find it a bit pushed, a bit fast, yeah? And sometimes I just found it a little bit too much, a bit too active, yeah? Yeah, but that's personal. So, it starts like the violin concerto starts with these repeated Ds, and they're incredibly important. And you have to get them absolutely right. Never rushed or anything. You have this which goes through the whole thing, and is the repeated note. Obviously, the motive is very important throughout the whole work. Yeah, where is your first clear downbeat in this? Second measure. Boom, 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 yeah. Doesn't it go there? What?
I suppose so.
I think it does. I think it's very interesting structure that it goes. The shape of this theme is like the shape of the second movement. The weight comes at the beginning, near the beginning, yeah? And then it dies down and then just rises again towards the end, yeah? Mm-hmm. See if you can do that. It's like one long anacrusis to the downbeat. That's much better. Okay, and can you do the opening without an accent? We don't need a downbeat. Boom, 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 boom. It's coming. Now without the pause after the first beat. Tum, bum, ba, but ya la la la. Yeah. Try putting the key down first, so that you actually feel the. Then it's very hard. It's like a heartbeat. It doesn't need to be 1, 2, 3. Boom, boom. That's much better. Yeah. It's terribly. It's wonderful, that opening. I remember Barenboim playing it and being entranced right from the first note. This D, which just goes through the whole work, it seems. It doesn't, but this wonderful drum. Okay, so I would see everything going to that third bar. Where are we? Right at the end. The big problem pianistically is the orchestration and the lines of this, yes? That we actually can hear the different instruments, the different voices. I mean, it's very hard to do. Do you study them between, just do you with 2 hands?
I have tried that.
You have? I would do it quite a lot, actually. Try it now. Whenever the hand is doing 2 voices, whether it's in a Bach fugue or this or in anything else, I always do it with 2 hands. And that way, and you work at it. Mm-hmm. You work at that 2 hands. You don't just do it roughly once and then say, oh yeah, right. You actually study it with the 2 hands and then say, well, that's how it would sound in an ideal world. Now we'll try it with 1 hand. And you teach your 1 hand what it should sound like. Yeah? Okay, have a go. Yes, get all the voices. That's good. Okay, now a little bit more in tempo. I'll do the drum. I'm good at this. Go on. And so on. Yeah? Get a friend to do that for you. Yeah, they play the drum, and you play all the other voices. And that helps quite a lot. I'm not going to embarrass you now by saying practice your drum, but I would. Yeah? I really would. See, well, it can be terribly sort of bumpy and moth-eaten. Even the best pianists can sound, yeah, in trouble there. But we really should try to be, yeah, this thing should be quite beautiful and wonderful. Okay.
And would you play it that detached in the context of?
No, I would pedal it. Sorry. But it must be there. It's a heartbeat. It's throbbing. It's of vital importance all the way through this whole light, and it adds energy and vitality, and it's fascinating as a sound. Beethoven's idea of piano sound is so wonderful. Yeah, la, 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 la. It's just like the opening of the violin concerto, you know. Yeah, it's a wonderful idea. I'm sure he was thinking back to this sonata when he wrote the concerto later. Okay, let's start again. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Keep legato. Not too much. No, don't. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, good. Beethoven's slur is important here. It's not. Yeah, he's very clear that it goes. So I think it really just stays. It's legato all the way through. Okay, the sforzandos, give them weight. Yeah, don't be afraid of them, and don't rush off them so much. Play them with more importance, more affection, really. Yeah, sforzandos don't need to be stabbed. You know, they can have a whole range of characters, and this one has a certain, I would say, affectional. It just leans towards you. Yeah, good. And above all, don't rush this very beautiful, sort of almost an arabesque. It's stunningly beautiful, and you're up and down it. I mean, at the speed of knots, you know, woo! You know, I mean, you think, what's gone wrong here? It's a sudden breeze gone through the pastoral. Yeah, we don't want anything like that ever. You know, stretch it, expand it, and show it to us. Yeah, go on. Ah, that's nice. Yeah, but don't panic at the end. beautiful. Oh, yeah, that was nice. Yeah, really nice, yeah? And we can hear it now. It's clearly projected. Everybody in the room can hear every note and the shape and the line, instead of, you know, which is, you know, really isn't on. Okay, come on, let's do it again. Yeah, wherever you want, I don't mind. Yes, do it again. Can I have a better bass line? There's our friend again. Yeah? Yeah, don't push to the end, you know. Just simply and gently. That bass line is incredibly important in the whole makeup of the sound. Otherwise, you're very much in the middle of the piano all the time. You're there. He needs to open up the range, if you like, of the sound. Okay, fine. So, yeah, you don't need to go. Yeah, it isn't that dramatic. Okay, good. Here, let's just talk for a moment about rests and silences, because they're all important. And you're not... what? Generally, you know, I sense that I can tell the difference between people who listen to rests and those who wish they weren't there. Yeah? And that silence is incredibly important, and it's utterly, utterly, utterly vital in Viennese classics. Mozart, Haydn, Beethoven were brought up to be obsessed about note lengths. Yeah? It was part of the whole style that a composer knew if he was writing, and this is where I've got to get it right, a quarter and two rests, yeah? Or a half note, or a dotted half note, yeah? The length of the note matters incredibly. And then listening to this wonderful thing called silence, it's like air. You know, I can't breathe around here, it's so notey, is how I often feel about music. I can't breathe, it's all clotted up, yeah? So he comes to the... Listen to the silence. You don't play until you've heard it. Yeah? Yeah? Never forget, Beethoven was a great craftsman. He was a great professional composer, if you like. He knew exactly the length of the note. And if he writes a quarter and two rests, that's what we play, because it's better than anything else. Yeah, better than a half note and a... You understand? Yes. Yeah, that's just very basic to the style. Let's just go from there. Yeah, that's too long. Yeah, you play rhythmically, but just hear the silence. Yeah, it's a lovely note, that E sharp. It's don't play so quietly. Yeah, that's what we want. That was very good, by the way. Yeah, it makes all the difference in the world. And don't be afraid of rests. As I say, a lot of people sound as though they wish they weren't there, or they use them to get ready to play the next bit. It never becomes part of the music, and it's vital. Anyway, come on, let's. Okay. Very good. Bum, 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 bum. That was almost excellent. This needs working at. Oh. Yeah? The pardon?
Are you doing?
I shouldn't. I'm sure it's bad playing. Yeah, I don't play this sonata actually, but go on. Tranquillo, just be peaceful. It's great. One of the great moments of the piece. Yeah, great. Yeah, it's wonderful with this. It's so beautiful. I would keep it peaceful. Yeah. And practice a lot without. It's constantly mysterious. Yeah. Don't sound as though you've been through it 100 times before, and you know it's all the same to you. Yeah. We've gone into C sharp major. Then he sees something, and so that's why the crescendo is there, and then it comes. It's ravishingly wonderful. Yeah, you should sound overjoyed when you play this. It must never sound exercisey. Yeah, I'm not saying you don't, but watch it. This is a vibration. Do you practice on its own? It's a vibration. It's excitement, but only if you don't ram it down our throats. I love this passage. At the end of it, it's joyous, it's happy, you know, it's da da dim da da dum yeah? It's a happy moment in the work. Don't let it turn stormy, you know. All that, you know. I don't think he's angry about anything in this. You know, I really don't. Leave that for the Appassionata and for 111, you know. This idea that Beethoven's always somewhere bad-tempered and would like to give the piece a damn good thumping is really not true. He's got such a sense of wonder and joyousness of being alive, you know, and great happiness. Yeah, I would see this as immensely joyful moment. Yeah, yeah, and it overflows in laughter, whatever it is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think it's more like laughing in those scales. Yeah. They're not fun to play. I mean, you're not laughing when you play those scales, but don't push them too hard, yeah? Every note, yeah? Not exercising. Go on, play it again. And see more on the top of the key. Don't get too deep. should mesmerize us a bit. I think. Hey, sorry, so Mark, your hands have got to be absolutely together. Sorry. Bass. Now the crescendo. More. Yeah, very good, very good. Try not to ritardando at the end of the scale. He does it for you. Yeah? By going from triplets into twos. That's good. I would work your fifth fingers. The balance isn't great. You want a better bass. Yeah? As I say, you're going to be careful in this sonata. It's rather in the middle of the piano a lot of the time. The hands are not that far apart, and so make sure that your cellos and basses pull their weight. Yeah, it's not just the top voice. Good. Okay, let's go on. Silence. And a syncopation. Don't be afraid of it being fun. Yeah? Do you practice left hand a lot? Yes. A lot, good. Good boy. Have you played from beginning to end of this movement left hand alone? No. I think you should. Okay. Every day. Twice, morning and evening. It's like taking a rehearsal with an orchestra just of the lower instruments. And it will also give you a much better, something more solid, yeah? Pianists tend to be very right hand going left rather than the other way. You understand, yeah? And I think you'd play it enormously better if you did that. Not left hand alone for technical or mechanical reasons, you know, but just say, well, what is going on down here? Yeah, and making sure that it's very good. Before I thought that these were a bit wonky. The 1, 2, the 1, 2. Those are wonky. You play it. Yeah, every note. That's it. Yeah. Okay, now quiet. Yes, left hand, perfect. Shh. The 1, 2, the 1, 2, 3. Be careful that you don't get an accent on the second. It's 1, 2, the 1, 2. The 1. That's it, and so on. Yeah, I would do that a lot because it's quite tricky. You know, the danger is you're going to play, yeah, or it's just not going to be perfect, and it rather has to be, I think, yeah? Okay, try. like that. That was an accent on the second. No, that's the syncopation breaks on that C sharp. I think it should be very clear, and it's a short slur. Okay, but without any rushing. It's still a bit not great. Yeah, do it. Work it at home because you understand. Yeah, it's going to be a very good corner. Okay, let's go on into the development. And when you come here, it's hard, but you must work at that decrescendo. Pianists have to work at diminuendos. Yeah, the danger is you get too quiet too soon. Yeah, and you disappeared. So on. It's got to be well measured. Yeah? Okay. Let's go from the end Very good. I think I agree, not too much crescendo there. I think that was a little underdone, maybe. Yeah? But good, I'm glad that we didn't get some enormous. Yeah, let's have it again. Now come on. Good.
Is this part also not angry?
Probably, in a way, but I would say I'm not terribly keen on anger in the Pastoral Sonata, you know. I mean, it's the first fortissimo, which I think matters. It's the one and only fortissimo in this movement, I think. Is that right?
I don't remember any others.
Psst, you should. Yeah? You should, yeah? I think, I don't... Whatever. It's one of the few, if not the only one. Yeah? I would, I would always treat that very, very melodically. Yeah? And I think it would help if you worked through very carefully where he writes sforzando and where he doesn't. Yeah? Because at the moment, for example, there, tom, bum, yeah? I'm hearing there, another sforzando. And I think you've got to be really careful that where he does and where he doesn't write. Yeah? Yeah? When you do get to the fortissimo, make sure you don't stop, that the intensity, yeah, doesn't falter. No. It should go. Yeah. Can you try from there? Work this very hard. The two eighth notes are. Must be terribly clear. Yeah? And always hands together. Go from the fortissimo. That's better. The left hand really leads. It's this this fourth sounder that comes. Yeah, the left hand leads. Good. Where do you take the pedal off there? Just do the fortissimo going into the piano. It's a bit dirty. That was better. That was better. It's quite difficult. You build up all this sound, and then that subito piano can, quite often in Beethoven, sound has got too much residue on the post. I would do it. Can you do it again? Just be very, very sensitive to it. Yeah, but you must do it without stopping, I think. Good. Yeah, and remember, it's only relatively piano. It's not a subito pianissimo, it's relatively piano, and after all this noise, it's probably going to be closer to a mezzo something, yeah? I mean, don't forget, Beethoven isn't a mezzo man. He does write it occasionally, funnily enough, in the early works, and later. He abandons mezzo piano and mezzo forte for a variety of reasons, but that means that piano can actually occupy quite a wide dynamic range, yeah? It isn't that somebody's just suddenly done that to the music, you know, and so on. It can be, after a big noise, something like mezzo forte, yeah? It doesn't have to be super dramatic. But it's up to you to decide what it is, how much, yeah? And that's sort of what Beethoven's saying to you. He said, oh, I can't fuss around with too much mezzo. If they're good enough to play this, they're good enough to think and feel and be perceptive about music, yeah? He really, most of the time, just uses 4 markings: forte and fortissimo, piano, pianissimo. You'll get the odd PPP at the end of the Appassionata first movement, things like that, but they're not, they're rare. And so this means that pianissimo and fortissimo have a certain special quality, probably, yeah? That he's moving into an absolute world, whereas forte and piano occupy a very wide area and can change a lot. You do have to work at technically, or with your ears, making absolutely certain that you're together. Where's the piano? It's quite awkward. Can you go from there? Yeah, I would work that a lot. You know, when you do this, playing through the whole movement, left hand alone. Yeah, I would concentrate. This really is melodic. It's a wonderful range of. It's a little bit like. The bagatelle, 126. Difficult, but concentrate very much that you're clear and hands together. Yeah? Let's go on. I would be happier if you tenuto those right hand notes a little bit more. The way your hands look, it looks as though there's a rest involved. Oh, yes. Peaceful. Peaceful. The crescendo would be nice. That's lovely. Don't be afraid of... the crescendo there, yeah? Can you go again? And at this, Beethoven can write amazement after this, Good heavens, what have I done? He has that, it's fabulous. Beethoven doesn't mind, Beethoven often lets you in on his secret world. In a very beautiful, very personal way. I mean, the great example is leading into the fugue in the Hammerklavier, where he sort of takes you around the houses with himself, you know, through tonalities and things like that. But you get lots of examples where you can feel the process, and it's as though you're there with him. I never knew I could do that. That feeling of amazement. You need. Huh. Yeah, and then he's going to show you how he gets out of it. So here he is, quite peaceful in F sharp medium. So he has a think. And then, it's very lovely. You've got to go through it with him, you know, when you play it. Don't ever let that sound ordinary. You know, that sort of nonsense. You have to be his other half at that moment and show us the process. We're here, we're very quiet. Yeah, you're going to play it, but you show us trying, and then the silence in which this thought process is taking place. Yeah, go on, play it from there. It's too loud. Bum, bum, bum. That was very, very beautiful. I don't think I'd hold the pedal all the way through like that and build up a chord. It's not a crime, I don't think. I think I would, he hasn't tied the notes over and he hasn't written a pedal mark. I think I would be a bit careful about. There's something a little bit too nice about it. And, isn't that lovely? And it isn't quite Beethoven. You could pedal to the E, I think, if you want. Okay, that was beautiful. Every note. Yeah? Yeah, don't get too soft in the hand. And here, you don't make it too civilized. Yeah? Again, the silence matters more. Keep us alert. You know, that's the other thing. If sometimes we tend to think, yeah, we know what's going to happen. You know, if we get that feeling, you know, it's a shame. Yeah? Anyway. And make a very beautiful, very affectionate coda. Beethoven, when he says goodbye, it can be in all sorts of situations. It's immensely moving, to me anyway. You know, even something like the end of the Emperor Concerto, the coda there where it starts. Dum bum 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 I forget da 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 dee da. I just think it's one of the most moving moments in the word. Da da dum da dee. And it's same here. Yeah? He says goodbye to the piece. Yeah? Try. Bum 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 I think there's more energy going on in those forzandos. I wouldn't be quite so sleepy. And don't I mean, it's not the end of the work or anything, you know. I mean, it's only a sort of end, yeah. But and I wouldn't slow down. Keep going, keep going. You don't finish till late, much later. Go on, have a go. Warm and enthusiasm, bumby da da dum, bumby da da dum dum bum. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1. Yeah. Does that help? Yes. Yeah? Good. I hope so. I'm sure you play it really beautifully, but I just wouldn't think of it quite so fast or so stormy. You know, when we, I think that some works of Beethoven are incredibly difficult because they're the character is hard to capture. The storminess of a Appassionata 111 can come, in a sense, can be more easily than this very beautiful world. You know, which is not full of high drama. The first movement of 110 is an example of that. First movement of Opus 28. It's very hard to get them. Anyway, I hope that helps a bit, and I'm sure you'll play it very beautifully. It's nice to hear you again. Yes. You've improved. Thank you. Improved a lot. Yeah, it's really good.
I don't know whether I'm necessary or not now, but starting for the second half of today's masterclass, we will have Michael Sikic playing the Polonaise-Fantaisie of Chopin.
Well done. Sorry. It's good. I'm always pleased when people play the Polonaise-Fantaisie. You know, in my teaching life, I'm amazed at how many people walk through the door and say they want to play it. It really, many people want to play it. And whereas something like the F-sharp minor Polonaise, you know, hardly anybody ever comes in and says they want to play that. You know, the black Polonaise is the E-flat minor, the C minor, the F-sharp minor. Oh no, those are out. But the fantasy Polonaise or Polonaise-Fantaisie attracts people enormously. I always think that's rather wonderful because it's not easy listening. You know, it is a difficult, experimental, strange piece. It presents us with lots of problems. You know, I'm playing it at the moment, yes, and so therefore there's a sort of personal connection that isn't always very helpful if you're trying to teach it or something like that, because what I feel and do myself is not necessarily right for you. I feel quite strongly that you've got to have a tempo in the piece to unify it, to pull it together. Yeah, you can't allow it to sprawl all over the place and just do what you want as the emotion carries you. You know, and so I think that this basic tempo is really very, very important. And we'll talk more about that as we go through, you know, what is tempo one? For example, at the beginning of perhaps what we call the coda, you know, you're faster than tempo one. Yeah? And he specifically writes it there, and I think it would be worth thinking about it again. Okay. The other, but when people play the opening, for me, it just goes on far too long. It wanders around in the fog, you know, and it's all very lovely and sort of Debussy and reminiscent of something. But by the time you get to the Polonaise coming in, I mean, you think you're a little bit tired of it, you know, it's just wandered off too far. And I think you've got to pull that together. What does maestoso mean, just out of interest?
Grand.
What?
Grand.
No. Could be. I mean, it might be grand. It's a word that crops up a lot in music. Mozart uses it. Beethoven, 111, the opening of 111 is terribly important. Maestoso. Chopin uses it quite a lot. It's worth thinking about. You know, it's got nothing to do with wearing a crown and all that nonsense of majesty. It's to do with strength and certainty and authority. The king being the only free man. I mean, this is talking about good kingship, and it's talking about a long time ago. You know, not nowadays. Yeah, but it's about strength and certainty and authority. Yeah. It's not about shouting your head off. You know, nobody talks when the king talks. Yeah, the king has complete authority. Yeah, and a good king has great moral authority. And there must be that feeling, I think, in maestoso when you play it. Yeah, yeah, right from the very first start, that the yadamba. Yeah, you don't shout. You didn't. You're a very good boy. You didn't play fortissimo and all the rest of it. And it isn't about pompous or grand or self-importance. It's about absolute certainty. Yarambi. And that, I think, must be there all through the opening before the Polonaise. Yeah? When he actually finally finds his talent. The first time we actually arrive in A-flat major, we go through many beautiful journeys. Yeah, but this great. So play it without the stuff, you know. Yeah. Yadam, yeah, get it going. Give us a pulse. Give us a sense of direction. Yeah? Don't take too long over it. Otherwise, yeah? Okay.
So without
Yeah, play it without the. Late. Tum tum, 1, 2, 3, 1, ba-da-dum, bum, bum, ba-yum. I'm not saying you can't take liberties in time, you know, but when you're studying it, do what's written, and then later, if you feel it needs something else, yeah? But there's a terrible danger that we can lose the tension. Ta, and this sort of finally comes in whining. Yeah, you know, which it mustn't. Pianissimo doesn't mean that he's all of a sudden, oh, feel sorry for me, I'm a poor old king. You know, just the fact that it has just the same strength in pianissimo that it has in forte, exactly the same. Yeah? Just because you're whispering or speaking quietly doesn't mean you're not saying the truth, does it? You know. Anyway, go on. Don't go weak. Ba-yum, ba-yum, la 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 da dee do dee. Da dee dum, ba dee, ba-ya da dum. Ba 1, 2, 3, 1. Da da dum, ba ba, da da dum, ba da dum. La 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 dum, ba da dum, bum bum ba ba bum ba ya. Da da dum, ba bum ba ba bum bum. I think, yeah, that sort of convinces me a bit more, yeah? And I think it makes it easier to play.
Yeah.
If you allow yourself really just to wander, I think it makes it actually harder to play. Anyway, and in this, you know, Bithell, it's a sort of flowering of the chord or a moment like that. Yeah. If you take us through every note. When I studied this, I was about 16 or 17, and I played it for some know-all friend, you know, and, you know, one of those clever people who can read music, whereas I just sort of felt it or something like, yeah. And he said, how can you do that? Those are written in crotchets. Just because they're little crotchets doesn't stop them from being quarter notes, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So he says it. And I played it for my teacher, Augusta, like that. He just stopped and said, this is intolerable. This is going to take 3 hours. I think that it must have a sweep and a sort of feeling of amazement or something, yeah? But if it just sounds like, it mustn't kill what you've just done. Yeah, and it often does, yeah? Incidentally, make sure you never accent that, or even give the impression of doing that. I think that's wrong. I think it should be 1, 2. 1, 2. There isn't a bar line before that chord, yeah? Okay, so let's get on to this and keep the tempo you've set, yeah? Don't change it. Okay, and after all this sort of improvisation, let's have a bit of straightening up. Yeah, don't get to it, say yum ba da dum bum be la lum ba da dee. Quite often in the Polonaise-Fantaisie, you've got to be strict with tempo. It mustn't just be pushed every which way. Let's go. Yeah. La lum bum ba lum bum. I'm glad you do it 2 hands. Glad you do it 2 hands. I get a terrible sound if I do it with 1. I used to think that was the posh way to do it, with 1 hand, you know, and that this looked slightly, you know, slightly funny. But I get a much better sound with 2. And be careful that your rhythm's right, not ba ba bam 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 ba ba bam ba ba bam 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 bam. Tempo, bum 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 ba ba bum bum bim, dim dum dum bum ba dum dum bum bum, tempo dum bum dum. Dum 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 bum, tempo bum bum, bum bum tempo dum bum. Okay, and this is really the end of the first section, yeah? And I believe it should be in tempo, yeah? Michael, you've got to look at your pedalling. Often you do what a lot of people do, and that is you change too quickly, yeah? You've got quite a bit of dirt sometimes, just where you want. I can't think of a particular, yeah? But make sure that you don't change too fast, so that there's residue. Yeah? I would say all the way through, you could give me a stronger melodic line. It's slightly pale. Yeah? Yeah? It's a bit stuck inside the... Which is, I mean, he gives you this very, very, very strange and difficult left hand to manage. Yeah, you've got to be careful that the melodic line is strong and that it projects and that we follow it clearly. Yeah, right up to the end. And this is all melodic. All of that, yeah? Keep the strength going, yeah? Don't turn it into a cadenza, yeah? He piles on the intensity and phrase it really very, carve out the phrasing. Yeah? Pile on the intensity of the emotion and the phrasing, which is really strict, but don't let it run away. I tell myself that when I play it, and it quite often does run away. I panic. I can panic in that passage like nobody. It's very awkward. He's done you no favours there. But I think musically it sounds better if you hold it and just crescendo, yeah? So that it really arrives at this very splendid harayamba in tempo, and it sounds logical. Does that make sense? Yeah. Let's go on. Yeah. This great moment. Let's go for. This is a great moment in the piece, yeah. The sotto voce there is really wonderful. It's so beautiful. Go. Goes mysterious in C major, which is rather nice. Yeah. Well, sort of C major. It isn't C major at all. That mysterious quality, which he then comes out of in this page. Let's try. Now E major, poco a poco, not too much too soon. Yeah, that's good. Except you got too loud too soon. Yeah? You got to measure that one, I think. It's like the sun coming out, and it needs to just be built up. Otherwise, it's too repetitive. Good. Shall we go from there? Yeah. You've done what a lot of people do. You actually quicken up here, just when he's finally let things relax a bit by moving into triplets. Yeah, I think you should play in tempo. You're playing faster. Yeah, that sounds so much better. I would, back to the pedaling thing, be very careful. You can pedal very little through that. Yeah, it's just a touch here and there, but only very few. Yeah, and you're going a bit puff, puff, puff down there. It's too much. And you're all in the middle of yeah, you have to think another way. All that polyphonic writing is not going to take that amount of pedal. So it just goes too thick. Yeah? Bravo, you didn't speed up in the agitato. Agitato probably does include a bit quicker, but it doesn't mean faster. Yeah, just being because you're agitated in here. Yeah? No, and I would keep in tempo and whatever, yeah? Do you want to play from there? Yeah, that's beautiful. There, again, is a passage which I think you're not pedaling well. I think you've got, I think his pedal marks and his rests, or something like that. I don't think you can go through it. Yeah? I do think that that by pedaling all the way through, it's not working for me anyway. Yeah, what do you think about it? Maybe you yeah, he's written it very carefully. Whatever it is. I think there at the end, that also is not going to work. Pedaling and into there. Yeah, I think it needs looking at. I think the rests are very dramatic, actually. But you've got to have a good, strong right hand. Yeah? Good. Can we go from there? I think that needs more. I think you've got to have something of the previous bars still left in that. It's a fabulous, and then it changes there. Finally there, becoming pianissimo and very beautiful. Yeah, but this is a horrible chord. You know, it's like being somebody putting a knife in you. So it's so dark. Yeah, good. You know you're playing it in 4, which may be correct, because this is phrase, yeah? You're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, da, 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 yeah? Which sounds lovely. But he hasn't written that. Well, maybe he has. I mean, hemiols and all that stuff are all over the place. You know, they don't have to necessarily mark them. But as long as you know you're doing it and are happy with that, yeah? I don't know what I tried to do. I suppose. So maybe sometimes I try more in 3 and sometimes in 4. Huh? Perhaps he wants a sort of duality. Try to every note but pianissimo. Yeah, you must take us into another world. This is the first tempo change that he's marked in the work, and this bit slower, but the pianissimo marking, and in fact always piano and legato, sostenuto. You know. This very special world of emotion when he remembers things. You can da 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 repeat but you. Huh? Do you want to play? Can we go from there? Yeah, could you try it so that it sounds a bit active to me? It sounds a little bit too much movement too, yeah? That it flows. Maybe just, you know, we need at this stage in the work, we've been listening for 10 minutes, we need some calm and quite a long period of it. Yeah? We've had a lot of activity and busyness. Yeah? That this wonderful section has a great feeling of peace, of flowing, and of these wide Polish landscapes, if you like. Yeah, you know, you see it over that. It just goes on. It's as though he's looking from a distance. You sense the distance. I do anyway. Da 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 da. The distance between the hands there is beautiful. Yeah, and it's also one of those passages I think sound a little bit as though you made it up yourself, as though you wrote it yourself. Yeah? That it's an improvisation, it's a personal moment, it's deeply personal, this. It's not public. Yeah? Yeah? You sound just a little bit businesslike with it, but that's, yeah? Am I talking too quietly? Sometimes. For which you are grateful. Michael, just another thing. It's worth it talking about these things because they affect everyone. I think you sit a bit high, and I think your back's tight. I feel when I look at you that I want more upper arm and yeah, you're just a little bit rigid. Yeah? Okay. I think we'll talk about it another time. Okay. Do you want to try with that? No, I don't think of relaxing your back. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Oh yeah, vast spaces. Shh. Lots of time. We've got lots of time. We've got lots of time to... take your time. Don't push us through all that chromatic harmony, you know. It means something, yeah? That sounded more beautiful, but you can do it even better. Yeah, you can, yeah? You know, if you've been a good boy and you've played, if we have been good boys and we've played and given a solid sense of pulse and unity to the work, you know, there's payback time, you know, you can actually relax somewhat here, yeah, and express yourself more freely. We need, and great composers are wonderful at this, giving people periods in which to, yeah, it doesn't all have to be push, you know, come along, yeah? We need the space of this great moment in the work, yeah? You're not going to bore us, you know. Well, people worry about things like that. You know, we're not. We need it. It's been a very, very long listen. It's a difficult listen for the public, this. It's not going to come easy. By giving a strong pulse and all that, you make it much more intelligible. But we need this before the big coda comes. That's beautiful. Oh, yeah, it gets in. Yes, that's beautiful. It's unbearably painful. 1, 2, 3, 1, full of hope, but don't get too loud. Oh, everyone. And it ends in complete despair. That it's something that's over. That great vision of the past, all the emotion, all of this, it ends in despair. He's not going back. He can't go back. He'll never see it again. And it's bleak. And don't underplay the bleakness with nice pedal. You know, if you join the D sharp to the A sharp, it's your decision. This edition phrases it off. And my teacher in his put a comma. He felt that it was so dark. Yeah? And it can work, yeah? But modern editions have that slurred, yeah? In the new Ekie, and I did look. But I don't think you should underplay the tenuto. The D sharp has to be very well played as well. And then off you go. And this very painful. It's hard, this. It's emotionally a difficult world, all of this, yeah? To portray. Let's go from there. You understand, yeah? Yeah, I am tenuto. Michael, that pedal is really dirty. It isn't going to work. It's not going to work on a modern piano unless you do. I just change a bit at the end of the bar. That is awfully dirty. It's not pure enough. There's a great purity about this line. Nothing must destroy it. Yeah? So I think your pedaling has to be much more varied and good. Yeah, you also want more penetration in the sound and the melody. It's got to have more oboe-like quality. It's not so nice, you know? It's bleak. And now there's some hope. Now come on. You're it. Yeah. You almost don't have to try to make a crescendo. The addition of extra notes does it for you, I think. Yeah, I thought that was very beautiful. It's a passage that is so mysterious. I don't really know what's going on here, but it is very beautiful. But it must it's like a mirage in the middle of all this pain. Just something, you know, something amazing is happening. You know, you'll think all your life about it, what it's been there. That was lovely. I personally would keep the line stronger. Practiced it like that? Of course you have. Yes, you've left out the trill. It's like practicing your concerto and leaving out the cadenza. You know, you don't have to play the cadenza every time. Something. Yeah? And you must be, I think, very strictly in the same tempo as the first time you play this, yeah? Don't let this go weak. Yeah? But don't let don't let those bars just wander around as if nothing worthwhile can, they're going to throw us out in a minute. I would again be as quiet as you can be here, but quite clear. Yeah? And then let's go to the end. Keep the tempo. I mean, you could accelerando if you want, but I think it should be yum ba ba bum. Very good. That was good. When you get finally to try not to play louder than your fifth finger. Yeah. I mean, on modern pianos particularly, there's so much noise. You do a very good job there. And again, try not to push the tempo too much. Yeah. Let it go free and yeah. It's sort of it's liberated there. But try to keep the yeah, and good. If you hold back there, no, and I do think you over pedal there as well. I think it's more exciting. Yeah. And whatever. Oh, you wouldn't think I'd ever seen it before. But you keep the tempo and you keep the noise down. Yeah? And try to build it little by little. Yeah? So that is your loudest point here. Yeah? It's hard to do, but we don't want the end of of this wonderful work to be too thick and heavy and pounding. Yeah, it's very hard. The writing is so difficult. Yeah, but try to just hold back there. I think the final 2 pages, which you play very clean, I do find them too heavy. Okay. It must have a certain joyousness. I mean, this coda, is much criticised by all the people who know everything, but there's a lot of A flat major and repetition and all the rest of it. But it really can. And when he writes sempre fortissimo, I think the fortissimo is here. It's an emotional fortissimo. Yeah, try to color it a bit more. Yum ta da dee da ya da dum ya da da ya da. Always the energy. Ba yum ba dum from the little note. Ya da ya da ya da ya dum ba bi ya da. Something like that. And don't overwork. Just vibrate in the key, He just means to keep the sound and the rhythm alive. It isn't. If you start getting that, you've gone wrong. I think you're really getting yourself into a very nasty corner. if you overdo that. It's like it's so much Schubert and Beethoven. Just aim. No. Yeah. Once you've got that balance, I think you're in trouble. It's joyous, it's loving, it's warm, it's not a firing squad. You know, you're not being battered into submission, yeah? And I would make the coda, It's not, I assume that the rit means a slower tempo. Yeah, rather than getting slower and slower. I may be wrong, but that's what I do. And try to make it. And be careful that the left hand isn't too loud, like there. It must be. If it's, it can sound as though we've ended on a first inversion if you're not careful. Yeah. I hope that's helpful a bit. Yeah? I'm sure it's going to be very good. And it was lovely to hear it. And to hear you again as well.
Big applause for both of you.
Oh, yes.
And thank you, Peter. A truly enlightening class.
Oh, thank you.
I loved it. Okay, that was